The EPOS Impact 500 gives you about 90% of the Impact 1000 for less money. But is it actually worth it? Let's find out. If the Impact 1000 is out of your budget, this is a solid alternative. Think of the Impact 500 as the little brother to the Impact 1000. It's almost exactly the same, but it has a smaller shell, but at a more affordable price point. There's 7 big differences I noticed, and these are what matter most when you're deciding between both of these headsets. Real quick, before we get into the review, if you're an IT leader managing headsets or telecom hardware, we're giving qualified leaders a free sample of our best-selling wireless headset. No strings attached and no need to return. We're doing this because it gives you an easy way to test our best-selling headset without any hassle. And we think you'll love it. So visit the link in the description of the video and see if you qualify. The first big difference is the Impact 500 doesn't support the new over-ear cushion accessory that you can now add with the Impact 1000. The over-ear cushions dramatically improve the comfort and give a bit better noise isolation. The second difference is, aside from that both designs are very similar with the on-ear cushions, the Impact 1000 being a bit larger and more padded, and the Impact 500 being smaller. The third difference is the Impact 500 will now support native Bluetooth for Microsoft Teams and others in the future. So eventually you'll be able to use it without the USB dongle while still keeping call controls and reliability, but this will have very specific requirements on your version of Windows, Teams, and computers and so on. The fourth difference is the Impact 1000 has triple connectivity, meaning it can toggle between 3 devices all at once, 1 USB dongle and 2 Bluetooth devices, whereas the 500 has the standard multi-point Bluetooth connection like most other Bluetooth headsets. The fifth difference is the Impact 1000 has an optional charging stand, whereas the Impact 500 doesn't. So you'll need a hook, stand, or the headset's gonna be resting right on your desk. The sixth difference is the Impact 500 is literally the Impact 1000 in a smaller shell. Smaller speakers, smaller cushion, and a lighter feel. And the Impact 500 only has 2 variants instead of 10 plus variations of the Impact 1000, which is way less confusing. The seventh difference is the volume controls are slightly different. The Impact 1000 has a rocker control for volume and mute, plus you can flip the mic up to mute. Whereas the Impact 500 has its own dedicated volume up and volume down control, and it doesn't have a physical mute button that I can see. So you can only mute it by flipping up to mute. Lastly, the Impact 500 has a single-sided busy light, whereas the Impact 1000 has a full 360-degree busy light on both speakers. So if you want coworkers to know you're on a call from any angle, the Impact 1000 is definitely the way to go in that area. And if you want to order either one of these headsets on our website, there will be links in the description of this video. Feel free to use promo code YouTube on your first order. And if you need help selecting a headset and you just want to verify which would be best for you, contact us today and one of our advisors will be ready to help. Aside from these differences, both headsets are nearly identical everywhere else. So here's a quick side-by-side if you want to compare them on paper. Now, instead of me telling you what specs say on paper, I'd rather just show you. So here's the microphone test for both headsets back to back, and then the speaker quality so you can judge the differences for yourself. Drop your comments after you listen. I'm curious which one you're gonna pick.
When sunlight hits raindrops, they act as a prism and form a rainbow. The rainbow splits white light into many colors, shaping a high arch with ends beyond the horizon. When sunlight hits raindrops, they act as a prism and form a rainbow. The rainbow splits white light into many colors, shaping a high arch with ends beyond the horizon. When sunlight hits raindrops, they act as a prism and form a rainbow. The rainbow splits white light into many colors, shaping a high arch with ends beyond the horizon.
When sunlight hits raindrops, they act as a prism and form a rainbow.
The rainbow splits white light into many colors, shaping a high arch with ends beyond the horizon.
When sunlight hits raindrops, they act as a prism and form a rainbow.
The rainbow splits white light into many colors, shaping a high arch with ends beyond the horizon.
When sunlight hits raindrops, they act as a prism and form a rainbow.
The rainbow splits white light into many colors, shaping a high arch with ends beyond the horizon.
When sunlight hits raindrops, they act as a prism and form a rainbow.
The rainbow splits white light into many colors, shaping a high arch with ends beyond the horizon.
When sunlight hits raindrops, they act as a prism and form a rainbow.
The rainbow splits white light into many colors, shaping a high arch with ends beyond the horizon.
When sunlight hits raindrops, they act as a prism and form a rainbow.
The rainbow splits white light into many colors, shaping a high arch with ends beyond the horizon.
When sunlight hits raindrops, they act as a prism and form a rainbow.
The rainbow splits white light into many colors, shaping a high arch with ends beyond the horizon.
If you're a hybrid worker who wants the Impact 1000 performance, but cheaper, or you want native Bluetooth so you don't rely on a USB dongle in the future, the Impact 500 is definitely a solid choice. But if you want the flagship, need triple connectivity, bigger cushions, or the full busy light visibility, the Impact 1000 is the way to go. At the end of the day, it all comes down to your specific needs and what's worth paying for. That's it for this video. If you found it helpful, give it a like, as that helps support our company, and consider subscribing to our YouTube channel for more videos like this in the future.